Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Listen carefully, if you would, to this short story. A boy in a wheelchair for his whole life saw a man desperately struggling on crutches with his broken leg and offered to carry his backpack and books for him. The boy in the wheelchair helped him all the way across the campus to his class. And as he was leaving, he said to the man on crutches, "I hope you feel better soon." Just think about that, and then be thankful for what you have. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America! Merry Christmas! We need a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We're back in the saddle again after kind of a 4 days off, thanks to the Thanksgiving weekend. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, and of course this is Zeb at the Ranch, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and don't forget, they've got all the tires you need. Stop in and see them today, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Once again, good morning.
Merry Christmas.
Well, we got to do this right. Merry Christmas to you, too. Thank you. Now, can we have our pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, my dear friend, and I'm sure you're going to call in a little bit later. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you. And there he goes into a cloud of dust, Hi-O Silver. Hey, by the way, right now, let's find out what this weather is gonna do. I mean, I've heard that maybe there's snow in the forecast, but we'll find out in just a minute. K&R Rental brings you the weather at 256 South, 600 west of Hebron on the Burley-Paul Highway. And Roger and the whole crew, they're already there. They get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're just a wheeling and dealing, helping everybody with the rental of the best tools and equipment they need to finish any and all projects. Stop in or give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
I apologize, sir. I'm going to see what happened with the weather. And
yeah, I thought you said it was all set to go.
It was. I'm sure it was probably a cart number issue.
Okay.
So I'm gonna
all right, I tell you what I'm going to do. You go do that right away, and then you let me know the minute you have that, okay?
Of course.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, the weather will be, this is a heck of a way to start a Monday, will be brought to you by K&R Rental in just a very few moments. So keep that on your mind. And then also remember that Daryl's Cleaners. Oh, my goodness sakes. Yeah, I know. You had the family over for Thanksgiving, and they spilled gravy on the tablecloth. And oh, my goodness, there's cranberry stains on the tablecloth. And oh, my goodness, the kids, they were playing on the floor, and they got pumpkin pie on the curtains. Anyhow, take everything into Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they can clean anything, everything, and it comes back to you looking brand spanking new. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They're waiting right this minute to serve you. Wheels, do we have the weather ready to go?
Yes, Gina said just give her 30 seconds. It was a cart number issue, so she's going to get it reloaded in, and then we'll be set to go.
All right. While we're waiting, I want to maybe tell you folks, right now is a great time to give this information to you, that Denny's restaurant is going to have, again, a couple of big things coming up. First of all, this week on Thursday, we're going to have Lunch Bunch. We are going to have Lunch Bunch on this Thursday. Yes, we are. At Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And don't forget the very best of breakfast, lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time at America's Diner. So we will be at Denny's this Thursday. Don't forget at 11:30. And our thanks also to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, all those great folks for the door prizes. And then, here's what I want you to keep in mind, too. We're going to have, again, for I think the 5th year in a row, the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas on Thursday, December 13th. Put that on your calendar right now. At Denny's Restaurant, we're going to have Christmas carols and prizes and Santa Claus and music by Ashley Ludlow. Christmas music. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. Don't forget that on Thursday, December 13th at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Wheels, have you got it ready to go, buddy?
Yep, she's almost done.
Almost, I can hear her yelling in the background.
Yeah.
And what's she saying now? 3, 2, 1, 0, and do we have it?
I haven't heard anything yet, but
all right.
I know it's going to be one moment.
Okay, now, call me after the program, Wheels. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But Ramsey Heating and Electric, we also want to remind you good folks, they get there early in the morning at 7:30, making sure that they're there to serve you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And right now, heating, of course. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley at 678-0459. Like I said, they start at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. They have been in business over 6 decades of serving you. Don't forget, work with the best. Really nice people, knowledgeable people. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Yeah.
All right, sir. I was just going to say we got the...
All right, let's let her go. Let's have the weather brought to everybody again. A long forecast by K&R Rental.
It's going to be a nice one today, but for the rest of the week, expect something different. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch for the final week of November. Today, not too shabby. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 42. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 25. Tomorrow is when the winds of change start happening. We are expecting 30% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Up that to 60% by tomorrow night with a low of 34. Possible snow showers in the higher elevations. By Wednesday, 50% chance of rain showers, high of 45, rain and snow for Wednesday night with low of 30. Continue that on for Thursday. High of 43 with an overnight low of 31. And for Friday, 40% chance of snow showers in the forecast and a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for this Monday for 7th.
All right, thank you very much. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's get right to the crux of what's going on the border. And whether it's in Texas, whether it's in Arizona, or whether it's down by Santa Isidro, California, the Tijuana border, we've got a problem. And punks and thugs from this caravan have already stormed the border, and they have been hitting our Border Patrol agents and officials with rocks and bottles, etc. And finally, they were turned back with tear gas. And it was just absolutely amazing to me to scan the dial of newscasts and hear all the bleeding hearts that are coming out in favor of these illegal aliens trying to storm our border, trying to storm into this country, the United States of America, and basically stick their finger in our chest and say, get out of the way, Mr. and Mrs. Taxpayer. We're here, and you're going to pay for us. And I'm just going to say this right up front. I support Donald Trump. I support this administration with using the force necessary to turn them back. I support the Mexican government in their trials and tribulations in trying to turn these people back. And if they are arrested for any of the illicit and illegal activities of trying to hurt someone, storm the border, etc., deport them back to their home country now. Folks, you got to take a stand. And this issue of sitting there and saying to yourself, oh, they're all mothers with little children. No, they are not. And to be honest with you, why would any mother with any kind of sanity and caring and love for her children put them in harm's way and try to storm the border? They are illegal aliens that are committing a crime. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You're better and I'm better, and everybody should be happy.
Well, okay, go ahead, Keith. What's your point this morning?
Well, the border is this Jorge Ramos, who's a Mexican, whatever you want to call him, supposed to be a commentator or something, but I call him an agitator. He is really trying to stir up the Mexican people here in the United States. What is wrong with this man?
Well, it's what's wrong with the situation. Keith, you and I were raised that there is a respect for the Constitution. There is a respect for law. There is a respect for our border. There is a respect for the way that things have to be done to protect a sovereign nation, us. And all of this now is putting you and me and others like us on the defense because we're the ones that are being called bigots and hate mongers. We've got to fight back, and we have to win, because if we lose this match, this is more than a tennis match. This is America going down the tubes forever if we lose this.
But we have no idea what this Jorge is saying about us. I mean, you can't fight back if you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah, and there's others even locally that have a dim-witted view of what patriotism is, and they're not patriots. I can think of a couple instances where some individuals absolutely are creating chaos and havoc and trying to destroy the absolute value of America by what they say on the radio, even here in the Magic Valley, and I detest those kind of people. But I'm telling you right now, Congress, they have been lazy. Whether it's Democrat or Republican, they have not done their job. You tell me one congressman or senator that has spoken out and slammed his fist down on the table or took his boot off and slammed it on the table and said, we have got to do something now, and it's not just lip service. Go ahead, tell me.
Well, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that I doubt that many congressmen or senators are going to be at work today. It's just a crying shame. We're paying them. That's the trouble with paying somebody a salary that doesn't fulfill their promise.
I don't care who they are on a national level. I have no respect for people that will not go back and work for the American public. I'll give you an example of how bad this situation is right now. The Democrats, and I'm going to start calling the Democratic Party the Socialist Party because that's where they're leaning anyway, but the Democrats absolutely are doing nothing but divide and conquer. And when I say divide, they want to go after Trump. They want to absolutely split up this administration any way they can. They're not working for the American people. The House, now that they have regained the power in the House, they are not going to do anything but instigate and litigate. Remember that. They're not going to do anything to legislate. They're going to instigate and legislate. Mark my words, Keith Cottom. That's what's coming.
Yeah, and this shifty Schiff, he's right up there running his mouth off and everything and trying to go after the appointed Attorney General.
Yeah.
and he hasn't even said anything yet.
You know, this
Imagine that.
Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell and Maxine Waters, and the list goes on, of despicable, absolutely despicable people that are getting a fairly good paycheck and a pension to represent the people, and they're not. They should all be thrown out of office.
Right on.
Thanks, Keith. God bless you, man. I hope you and Nancy and your...
Gotta do something.
How did your great big bulging at the seams Thanksgiving family go?
It went great.
Good, good.
But you know, I seen something last night. We were coming back from Pocatello for visiting Nancy's brother, and all of a sudden the traffic out there by the interchange for Ogden, just past that coming this way, you could just see headlights for miles and miles and miles, and there must have been a serious accident just beyond the 216 exit.
Yeah.
Because it was at a standstill.
Well, if you're talking...
One thing on our crummy newspaper, or the news station at KMVT, they never said anything.
Well, let me tell you, that out there, I'm glad you brought that up, Keith. That, where you see that whirligig out there headed to Ogden with all the construction and everything, is very confusing. I don't know about you, but the first time I pulled back at night from Pocatello with my horse trailer on, and it was not very well lit, it was not very well signed as to where to go, Twin Falls, headed towards Twin Falls or Burley, or take the turn to Ogden. And I absolutely have a lot of sympathy and empathy for people that get confused at that interchange.
You know, and now they've got a sign flashing, do not use your GPS.
Yeah.
Follow the signs.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
So that is so weird, but it was eastbound where the accident happened.
Okay.
I have no idea, but it blocked the whole freeway.
Keith, thank you. God bless you for your call. Appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do the same.
Folks, the situation on the border with the bum rush to our portals to throw rocks and bottles and any other kind of debris, pieces of cement at our Border Patrol. Let me ask you this. Aside from Fox News, who I think is given a fairly good, I'll give them a A- report on the border. And they have also given the side of the Border Patrol agents and other personnel that work for our government on the border. They've been more, I think, than fair than anyone else. But name me another network. CBS, ABC, NBC, MSNBC, CNN. Have you heard any of that part of the media ever speak out in defense of our Border Patrol agents and people that are risking their life to defend our border? No, it's all about the so-called, quote-unquote, poor migrants. Think about it. These people that work for our government on the battle line, basically, putting their lives on the line, and nobody gives them any great accolades or anything. But no, it's always about the poor migrant. Yeah, poor migrant. If you saw the films, most of the videos showing 18 to 35-year-old punks and thugs throwing rocks, yelling, tearing things apart. Poor migrants. Calls are welcome, and you should speak out on this. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Merry Christmas wishes from AMI 719 Overland and Burley with the big 28-foot ranch over the door, and you'll go nuts over their bolts. Absolutely. They're a great local business, and we always appreciate them coming on for the holiday season. And AMI 719 Overland and Burley, Merry, Merry Christmas. Christmas. Clark's for Shopping at 100 East Main Street in Oakley. Oh, they've got that famous sausage from Grandma's recipe and bulk patties or links. It's good. Clark's for Shopping up in Oakley. And Dot Foods at 1541 West 27th Street in Burley. And they say a big thank you to the Mini-Cassia community for all the support and making Dot Foods the nation's largest food industry redistributor. And they say to you and yours, Merry Christmas. And boy, it feels good to say that. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your phone call, I want to remind you, boy, I'm going to be hitting it in full swing this week. Yep, up to the plate and headed to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. You know, Nick Greenwell and all of the physical therapists, they are excellent people, highly trained. They really know all the different exercises, and they've got the availability of that hydrotherapy pool there. Oh, that helps so much. You get in there, make a call, make an appointment. They can help you get back to being you. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, these people at the border, they're a lot like the Palestinians. They bring their kids, put the kids on the front line. They should be brought up on child endangerment. I mean, if you love your child, would you put them in harm's way?
You know, Doug, I've known you for a long time. I've known your family for a long time. And you're a common sense, God-fearing, love America family. And I hold you in the deepest respect. And what you said right there is absolutely the truth. Why would anyone, and I don't want to hear this argument of, oh, it's their last chance. No. This is thuggery and punks on the border that are creating a very horrific and dangerous situation, and they know. These people are so sick and twisted. They know that by featuring some of the moms and some of the so-called little children, that they're going to have the bleeding hearts of the world stand behind them and try to sway their opinion. You know why? That's why they're doing this. That's
exactly why they're doing it. But you got to get on the humanitarian side and look, hey, you're putting your kids in harm's way for something that is not right. You should be ashamed of yourself. You do not love that child if you put that child out there between you and some police officers.
What difference does it make, Doug? Answer this. If you're up in southern Idaho or down in Nogales, Arizona, or over at San Ysidro, California, or anywhere on the Texas border, McClellan, Texas, whatever it might be. What difference does it make as far as the mileage if these people are going to dictate to us that they're going to come through our border and we, the American public and taxpayer, are going to take care of them, fend for them, support them? We've lost it. We have lost any sense of a sovereign nation and any sense of being a valued citizen.
That's a fact. And there are open borders groups and people that want to tear this country down financing this because there was medical assistance the whole way.
Yep.
It was a caravan of transportation by automobile. It wasn't a caravan of people walking here.
Yeah, and
they just walked for a ways so they could get some footage to show to get the bleeding hearts to come to support them.
Yeah,
it is a setup. It is an organized invasion, not a caravan.
Here's the other thing, too, and it's about high time that some of the local news media and the Jimmy Johns and all those other people out there that absolutely haven't got a common sense on this issue. There are only two acceptable modes of applying for asylum. They are political and religious, and not for somebody that wants to come up here as a gang member and or try to get a job.
Exactly it. If they, what would have happened to America when the British come over here and wanted to keep the country under their rule, if everybody would have fled the country and went to another country instead of staying here fighting for it.
Yeah.
If you love your country and you're going to wave your flag as you approach another country, if you love your country that much, by George, stand up and fight for it.
The whole thing boils down to this, and you can see the surgical procedure that's being performed by the left. What are they denigrating right now, Doug, to take away patriotism in this country? They have come up with this word nationalism, and they've distorted it to be evil, and I'm going to support it the way it is. I am a nationalist. When I say the Pledge of Allegiance, I don't say it to Brazil or Czechoslovakia. I say I support the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Not any other nation. I'm not a globalist. I'm a nationalist, and I'm doggone proud of it.
I know it, and I'm proud of it too. And President Trump, he knows what to say and when to say it, and he knows when he does, he will have the majority of the American people behind him.
Absolutely.
The only ones he has against him is the ones that he is exposing for their fraud and how they're trying to take this country down.
Absolutely. I'm 2 minutes late, 3 minutes now, from my cookie giveaway, my dear friend. God bless you, and thank you for your call.
You bet. And one other quick note.
Real fast.
When President Trump tried to work with the Democrats on the border wall,
yes, yes,
they turned him down.
Yes,
because they do not want to solve this problem.
They want a continuing problem to absolutely distort and absolutely hurt this Trump administration.
Exactly. So God bless, and everybody, it's the giving season. Let's take care of our seniors.
Thank you, Doug. God bless. Thank you. Hey, don't forget Tuesdays at 9:46, we'll have Vic on the air with the great big Stotz Ag Minute. Stotz, of course, Stotz Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer at 119 Oberlin and Burley. They make your life easier, and boy, they've made my life easier. They can help you too. Wonderful people at Stotz Equipment Company. Tomorrow, the Ag Minutes. Don't forget that. I'm going to give away some cookies right now to Sophie's Chatterbox, and wow, I mean, cookies this time of the season. And if you're the winner, all you got to do is call Sophie's and tell them when you'll be over to pick your cookies up. And Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 East Street in Rupert. Great restaurant, great bakery. They even make wedding cakes, and oh, are they beautiful. Okay, here's the question. It's an easy one this morning. First person to call with the right answer is going to win the cookies. Here it is. What was the ranching family name on the TV show The Big Valley? What was the ranching family name on the TV show The Big Valley? First person to call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, is going to win the cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. So give us a call real fast if you would, please. One more time. What was the ranching family name on the TV show The Big Valley? Give me a call real fast. I'd like to hear what you have to say. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I also want to remind you about Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, and the whole staff. They're located at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. You know, they are a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They take care and love them all and want them all to be healthy, whether it's itty-bitty kitty cat or a whole bunch of dairy cattle. They do a great job. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital in Hayburn. And the number to call, 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Jordan.
Jordan who?
Jordan Sheffer.
Jordan Sheffer?
That's right.
Well, Jordan, what's the answer to my question?
I believe it's the Barclays.
The Barclays. What's your favorite kind of cookie, Jordan?
Ooh, I can't just choose one.
I'm with you. But pick out one, call over to Sophie's. Call Sophie's and let them know when you'll be over there to pick up the cookies. They're right on the square on Rupert, and they have wonderful cookies.
I know where they are.
All right, my friend. Congratulations, Jordan Sheffer. You're the winner. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
It was the Barkleys. Exactly right. We had Heath and we had all the whole crew there. And that was an old TV series from, not really that old because I watched it when I was in high school. But anyhow, the Big Valley with the Barkleys. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. You know what I'm worried about? I am really, after this weekend of Thanksgiving, I'm going to take this call. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this commercial first. And caller, I'll be right there with you. And I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. Oh, they've expanded their business to better serve more people. With all the septic tank pumping and the septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe service, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections, liquid waste removal, the list goes on. And they can serve you. Give them a call today. In Rupert, 436-6526, or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service with a big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is the Yummy Man.
Well, did the Yummy Man have a good Thanksgiving?
Very good, yes.
All right. Now, what are you going to... I bet you any money you're going to say to me that you've got delicious, yummy leftovers at the Senior Junction, right?
No, not today.
Okay. What do you got?
We're going to have fried chicken, mashed taters and gravy, green beans, coleslaw. We'll probably have some fruit. But best of all, we're going to have some pumpkin pie.
Woo! That's yummy, pumpkin pie.
Only $5 for any and everybody.
All right, well...
One come all, and you can phone in and a takeout order.
All right, Joe. Well, listen, you've done so much for the Senior Junction over there on Overland, and it sounds like it's going to be yummy today, so we'll send everybody over.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank you. Joe Taylor, what a man. What a guy. I've got a lot of respect for Joe. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One of the things, did you say something, Wheels, or did I hear somebody else on the air?
Oh, no, you're...
Oh, okay, thank you. One of the things that came to mind over the Thanksgiving weekend in a conversation I had with a friend of mine is that, have you ever sat down and thought, and in my case I'm starting to worry about this, that maybe our generation will be the last generation to really celebrate the real meaning of Christmas, the real meaning of Easter, the real meaning of Independence Day on the 4th of July, the real meaning of Memorial Day, Veterans Day, Thanksgiving, traditional respect and honoring of holidays in this country for what they really stand for. Think about this. And in our conversation, it was really brought forth that let's just go back, and I'm not saying all millennials. Please do not get upset and say, oh, we're not all like that. I know you're not. But think about the millennial generation and then the one coming on even younger being brainwashed against Christmas, Christ's birthday, being brainwashed against Easter. Oh, well, we can't celebrate a religious holiday. Being brainwashed against Independence Day on the 4th of July. I'm really concerned. Caller, I'll ask you the same question. Are you as concerned as I am? Go ahead, please.
Oh, absolutely. You can tell the way the families are today. Most of them are in restaurants that
instead of celebrating with the whole family together. Yeah, you're right. Everything has changed.
Not to the point, let me ask you this. I'm not afraid of just change. I'm afraid of just absolutely elimination. That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, what I see coming, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but our country is going to be turned into many different countries. And this is going to affect the American family.
Oh, I agree with you, because we're being twisted and torn and dissected into different cultures and different headquarters for those cultures. And the old, I am an American, I'm proud of it, and if you don't like it, get out of my way attitude is gone. And I'm very sad for that.
Well, we've got a problem with all these undocumented insurgents that are trying to get into the country. Life means nothing to them. That's why they are using these children as weapons to get into this country.
Absolutely. And by the way, Tony, I find it just really offensive that for people that are still waiting to do things in the legal fashion and fill out the forms, and all the different information to become an American citizen, and then they let these absolute illegal aliens try to jump the border and come in and say, we're here and you can't stop us. That's obscene.
Well, once they get in here, you put them on welfare, you put them on food stamps.
Oh, yeah.
They'll get a driver's license, and before you know it, they have the ability to vote for the Democratic Party. So this is where this is all heading.
And it doesn't take a brain of a genius. It doesn't take some scientist that can send a rocket to the moon to figure out, oh, gee, that's going to be a real depletion on the system with health care and everything else. Oh, no, they can't understand that.
Well, if we had people like Hitler and Khrushchev there, this problem would have been solved a long time ago.
Yeah, but we never want to go back to those kind of personalities with the heinous crimes that they themselves led and committed. I don't want to even think about something like that. What we do need to do is one thing, honor the laws and our Constitution in this country, and we wouldn't have this problem.
Well, a lot of people just don't realize what we've got, the laws that protect us, until they're gone.
Well, unfortunately, little by little, day by day, they are eroding and fading away. And that's why I'm concerned about Christmas. That's why I'm concerned about the observance for the real meaning of Christmas. And or, on a secular basis, even families that just want to celebrate with Santa Claus, etc. It's fading. It's fading away. Easter, fading away. Independence Day, for its real meaning on the 4th of July, fading away. And I'm worried about that.
Well, it's an economical thing, Nowadays, these big business companies are just all worried about the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're right, but I just honestly think that we've got to stop, take a deep breath, especially during this Christmas holiday season, and realize the values that we're losing to a bunch of punks, thugs, and yes, I'll call them terrorists that want to destroy this country.
Well, when I see the football stadium packed with people, I'm disgusted.
Absolutely. Tony, thank you very much. I appreciate you. God bless you and Mary. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, take care. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts, and they've got 3 great locations to serve you with the best of equipment rentals and retail equipment sales, and they are 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. There is one sharp guy right there. 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli, another home run hitter, and the Nampa location. Let me tell you something. They've got a great deal on the Bobcats. 0% interest up to 60 months. Hey, check it out today. They got all the shapes and sizes of the Bobcats at Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see them today. All right, calls welcome. Excuse me, I still got that cough. That cough and that cold has now lasted over a month. I know there's a lot of people out there that are suffering with the same cough that you think it's gone away, and then all of a sudden it wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't sleep the rest of the night. My poor wife, Deanne, she has had that thing now, same as me, about a month, and it just will not leave her alone. I really feel sorry for her. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call to make an appointment for a hearing screening, and that is 312-0957. Three wonderful doctors serving you, Dr. Shane Hunsaker, Dr. Pickup, and Dr. Mitchell, all of them there, and they can help you with your hearing health. Call 312-0957. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be a nice one today, but for the rest of the week, expect something different. Here's your weather forecast for Zep at the Ranch for the final week of November. Today, not too shabby. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 42. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 25. Tomorrow is when the winds of change start happening. We are expecting 30% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Up that to 60% by tomorrow night with a low of 34. Possible snow showers in the higher elevations. By Wednesday, 50% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Rain and snow for Wednesday night with low of 30. Continue that on for Thursday. High of 43 with an overnight low of 31. And for Friday, 40% chance of snow showers in the forecast and a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for this Monday for Zep at the Ranch.
Wonderful people at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids serving you with your hearing health. Please remember to give them a call at 312-0957. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, over the weekend, I had an opportunity over the last 4 days to really take a lot of notes and listen and study what's being said on the various networks and the various talk shows and the various news shows. And I'm just absolutely appalled as to how negative the news that's being projected to you, your families, and everybody around the United States, with the exception of a few, that is jaded against us, the American citizens and the American taxpayers. I mean, everything that I heard and listened to and took notes on, basically the bottom line was it was an attack on Donald Trump and this administration. It was an attack on not only him, but also an administration that they want to see removed. Hatred. They, the left, the Democrats, the socialists, whatever you want to call them, are absolutely hell-bent on hurting, destroying, and eliminating this administration. I'll give you a couple of examples. Even the ice cream mega giant called Ben & Jerry's, they now are starting different flavors that are just designed to show a resistance to Donald Trump and the current administration. They don't want any support of Donald Trump whatsoever. And then one that's even sicker. And I detest this woman. I find her to be one of the most repulsive, gutter-like women in the world today, Kathy Griffin. Remember her? She was the lowlife that held up a head that looked like Donald Trump. It was a bloodied head. Remember that? Now, according to what I heard earlier this morning from talking to a friend of mine back in D.C., she has started a toy, underline the word toy line, where the motto is, and please, if you have little children, have them leave the room. I don't want this to them asking questions. If it's okay, I'll keep going. She's starting a toy line with a slogan, F Trump. How low and despicable can they go? You know, just about the time you think that people like Eric Swalwell and others of his ilk couldn't, Maxine Waters, they couldn't go any lower. And then you have somebody like Kathy Griffin and Ben & Jerry's. Not anything for the American public. Not anything to make the United States better and stronger, but only to tear down and absolutely intimidate. That's all they want to do. That's all they want to do. And I'm just really afraid for the next 2 years with the Democrats, socialists, Adam Schiff. What good is he other than pointing the finger and saying, we're going to investigate this, we're going to investigate that. We don't know of a problem, but we're going to create one. There's the key. They don't know of a problem, but they're going to create one and investigate. And we're paying all of our taxpayer dollars for this kangaroo joke. Surely you must feel the same way I do, that this has got to stop. This has got to stop. Donald Trump was elected fairly under the rules and regulations, if you will, of this country, and he is the President of the United States. I didn't like Obama at all. I detested that man. But I never once thought about doing or saying anything as low or pond scummy as what's being done and said right now today. Ever. And there were few occasions when Obama did something that I thought was right. I praised him, and I've got proof on tape. But what we're seeing now is nothing more than a little kindergartner hate, get even attitude. And by 2020's election, how far down in the sewer are we going to be that we can never, ever climb out? This is the worst I've ever seen this country in my 71 years. Ever. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say a great big shout out to our major sponsor, and that's your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, and they've got all the tires. No matter what the weather throws at you, believe me, you can be ready and prepared with all the tires they have for your cars, pickups, and SUVs. Absolutely all the tread designs, all the sizes, everything, with knowledgeable people helping you at all 7 locations, along with the best in brake service, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go.
Good morning, Deb. Happy Thanksgiving.
Well, thank you, but now I'm very, very elated to be able to say Merry Christmas.
And the same to you. Anyway, talking about what's going on in our country, now is the time for those of us who really care about our country and about our president. Maybe it's us that needs to be walking in the streets, because the other folks certainly do that, and they get a lot of attention. I think that President Trump is a very good president, and I'm not sorry we've got him. But we've got to make sure we get him for another 4 years, and it's going to take a long time to turn this big ocean liner around. But we've got to be so positive and think strong about it, or this country, like you say, is toast.
Let me ask you a quick question, because I've only got a minute left here, and I want you to answer this question. Of all the Democrats/socialists that are in the party right now, tell me one individual, male or female, that you would trust as a Democrat/socialist if they won the next election in 2020. Just tell me one.
I can't. And I hope that the strong Republicans start showing their faces.
Therein lies the problem, Chris. The Republican Party is nothing, and I'm going to stand behind this. I don't care if Mike Crapo calls me or Jim or anybody else. I'm going to stand behind this statement. They're not banging their shoes on the desk. They're not standing up. They're not complaining. They're not yelling and screaming. They're just going with the flow.
Well, and several years ago, I think there was a little thing going around about the Republicans. They all have manners, and they respect each other's opinions, and they don't get angry. Well, maybe it's time to get angry.
Amen. That's a great way to wrap up this first hour. Chris, God bless you. Thank you so much. And don't forget, Merry Christmas.
Oh, yes.
All right. Thank you. We got to take a little break. We're going to send it back over to Wheels, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes with more. Richard Manning on the air next half hour. Looking forward to that. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, welcome back. And, of course, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley. Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, before we go any further, let's have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and I urge you to call them and get on the route service, and they'll come by weekly and get your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Wonderful people that really care. They are always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969. I'll repeat it. Write it down, 734-6969. Western Waste Services, absolutely the best. Want to also remind you about some of our great Merry Christmas wishes from Searles at 120 North Center Street in Oakley. Don't forget gas, grub, and goodies. And the store opens at 6 in the morning till 9 at night. Don't forget best doggone burgers and fries and the specialty buns baked fresh every day. All of this at Searles in Oakley. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. Along with Kelly's Bearings at 1407 East Main in Burley. Don't let your machine sit there while you're waiting for another part. Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything on hand. Bearings, chains, brackets, everything. Drop in and see Zach or Brett today. You'll know where you're at when you get your bearings at Kelly's. And then also Dixon Oil, 602 South 2nd in Rupert. They've got all the best of gas, oil, and propane. Daryl and the whole crew at Dixon Oil in Rupert wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I love saying that. Merry Christmas. Well, let's just continue. I'm going to say Merry Christmas to this next gentleman that's been on our program, and I really thank him for all his time and effort, and that is our good friend Richard Manning, and he is the president of Americans for Limited Government. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Sir, we are having an issue this morning. I tried calling over. I had got him on the line the first time, but he told me to call him back on his landline. However, they're having phone issues for some reason over there.
Keep trying to call him, please. Thank you.
Will do, sir.
All right. Evidently, with the phone issues and Wheels, just keep dialing that number. Don't try once and then quit for a while. Just keep dialing it, and it'll poke through. I want to remind everybody that, oh boy, I'd love to have your calls. So give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yes, Wheels.
Mr. Manning is ready on the phone.
Very good, sir. And right now, once again, the president of Americans for Limited Government. Always look forward to Mondays. Richard Manning, sir, how are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. I'm having a little phone problem here, but I think we got it cleared away.
All right. Well, that's what my engineer had said, but good to have you on the program, and I'm glad that you're laying in your recliner right now, still suffering from an overabundance of turkey and dressing.
I wish. I wish. It's a, I have to say that I took last week completely off so I could be, try to refresh a little bit, and it was a great time to be able to spend some time with my wife. So it was really good. But we're back into back on the battlefield today, so it's all good.
Well, battlefield is a good way to start our conversation, because I'm going to say this, and you can rebuff me or agree with me. But I've had it. I'm sick and tired of the punks and the thugs from this caravan and the absolutely obnoxious way that they're pointing their finger at the United States and saying we're going to bum rush the border, we're going to do this. They're hitting our Border Patrol agents with rocks and bottles and any other projectile they can find. And I say, good that they got tear gassed. Good that they got turned away. That's an invasion of our country. Your thoughts?
No, it's absolutely an invasion, and all we need to do, we've seen this around the world. We're just experiencing it here for the first time. When we saw in the invasion of Europe by the African and Islam migrants, both through the land and over the Mediterranean, was essentially the same thing. You saw people who came and just showed up in waves and basically didn't ask permission. They just showed up and demanded entry. We see the bottles being thrown, the rocks being thrown, with women and children put out front, while the 90% that are young military-aged youths are standing behind. That's straight out of Israel and Palestine. So we're looking at a model. It's very familiar. We've seen it around the world, and we're just experiencing it now. So the question is, will we have the images? Remember, it's all about the images. It's not about the facts. It's about the images that show. And what they show is an image of a mother, presumably a mother, looking through the fence longingly at America, and a bunch of people being scattered by tear gas, and we're the bad guys, try to make us the bad guys, not just here domestically, but in the UN and around the world. So we've seen this before. It is an invasion. It's a matter of whether or not we're going to have the willpower to resist it, and if the American people will actually support maintaining our borders, or if we'll lose our willingness to do so politically. But that's what this is. It's a made-for-TV kind of showcase to try to change public opinion.
Other than Fox News, and I feel like I'm fairly knowledgeable on this subject because I've scanned the dial of CNN and MSNBC, CBS, etc., to the point where I'm almost sickened. But other than Fox News, I have not heard any other network, come out on their newscast or their talk shows and given any defense or allegiance to our Border Patrol agents and other personnel that are being harassed and have been thrown at, etc. All of it is for the, poor migrant, my foot.
Well, what would you expect? I mean, it's the media is who they are. It's what we have is, NBC is owned by Comcast. All of their networks are going to have the same point of view. We have the Disney, which owns ABC. All their viewpoints that come from their various network affiliates are going to come or have the same point of view. CBS is CBS. They're not as much of a conglomerate, but they are certainly as much top down in terms of driving their opinions in a monolithic way. You have Google, you have Facebook, you have Twitter, which are all far left, which will all drive anything you see on their websites. All the left-wing stuff will end up at the top of any search. You have to go 3 search pages down to find anything. So you know what? It is one of the reasons why I've been advocating taking a hard look at trying to use antitrust laws to break up these media monopolies because they don't tell the story. They are not news agencies. They're advocacy organizations, and they are dangerous.
You know, Richard, every week that you're on this program, I've really come to expect, and I have been proven right 1,000 times, that you really know what's going on. And I'm going to ask you this not to put you on the spot, but to get your perspective. I mean, where are we going to go from here? Where are we going to go from the tear gas? Where are we going to go from the bum rush at the various border portals of where these people are trying to get through and make it into America and thumb their chest and say, hey, we're here, you pay for us? What are we going to do now to stop not just this group, but all the thousands that are aiming towards the various border points right now?
Well, I think the most positive thing that's happened is the relationship with which the president has struck with the incoming Mexican government. If we are able to work closely with the Mexican government in terms of dealing with the southern border immigration challenge, at that juncture the challenge goes away. Remember this: our southern border immigration challenge is not is simply a cartel problem. It's a drug cartel problem. The drug cartels, I've been told, I haven't done the independent research, but I've been told the drug cartels make as much money from human trafficking as they do from drug trafficking. So, given that, we have a cartel problem. But if we can come in agreement with the Mexican government on how to start dealing with the cartel problem that exists in northern Mexico, and has begun to really take roots in many of our cities around America due to the illegal immigration, we have to deal with that between the two governments, and that's what I think Trump is doing, and I think that's the only way we can deal with it.
I agree with everything you said, but I'm going to add one little caveat into the problem, and that is a spineless, milquetoast attitude and personality of both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat. They're not doing a thing, and I absolutely hold them in contempt. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think the American public held them in contempt also. Let's see what they do in the lame duck. It's a very simple equation on this lame duck session. If they don't give this President Trump, at least $5 billion for shoring up the wall, and actually with permission to build, if they don't provide him those dollars in this lame duck session, then effectively the Republicans have just reconfirmed why they did not deserve to maintain control of the House of Representatives. It's essentially going to come down to watching what happens the next 2 weeks in terms of budget. I think it's going to be a big fight. I think we're going to have it'll be the Democrats are going to try to lay down in front of the budget, in front of the appropriations bill, not pass it. And if the president actually wants it, he has to be willing to say, and this is something Donald Trump needs to be able to do. He say, I will veto this bill if it does not have adequate wall funding, and define what adequate wall funding is. Remembering that he's not going to get another dime for the wall out of the next 2 years because the Democrat control the House. Or at least can't expect to. So he needs to get adequate funding in this funding bill and define that term and then make that fight and win that fight. If he's not willing to say he'll veto legislation that doesn't give him the money he wants, at that point, then it's not just Congress. It'll be the Trump administration that has rolled over on their back and not fought for the funding.
I agree. Totally agree.
That's what to watch for. And
yep.
It's not, you can't expect Paul Ryan, who's not going to be in Congress next year, to fight for this. Mitch McConnell, he'll fight for judges, but not much else. If Trump wants it, his administration has to fight for it. He's got to be willing to veto a budget bill and close down the government over it.
Let me ask you this, and of course, when you hang up the phone this morning, you're going to be very, very thinking that I'm much more of a radical than I've ever been. But I absolutely am in favor of, if Trump doesn't get his way, and this doesn't get done for his promises to the American people that voted him in as president to achieve these things, I say have a government shutdown and really nail the lid on the coffin. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. It's at some point, this president has been, I use a term that I can't use on the radio, but he has been messed around by by Congress, by the Republicans in Congress, who basically said, trust us, we'll take care of you. Trust us, we'll take care of you. And his administration has effectively allowed Congress to just take care of the congressional stuff and didn't push their agenda very hard. And as a result, they didn't get much of their agenda done through the budget, through the appropriations process. I've been extremely frustrated by that. But I think that's a real view of what's happened. This is their last chance. So he has to change the way he's played the game with the Congress and say to them, the presidency is an equal branch of government. We're not going to fund the government unless you come up with funding, and let the American people decide whether or not they're going to pressure Congress into funding the government or not, and into funding the government with a wall funding or not. Let the Democrats die on that hill, and force them to die on that hill. That's what they should do. There's no more Mr. Nice Guy. We have to start playing hardball. Because if Donald Trump doesn't play hardball, he's not going to get anything he wants.
Absolutely. So well stated. And that leads me up to this next little bit that I get mad every time I think about this, but there is we got a caller. I forgot that we had a caller on the air with a question. My apologies, caller. Go ahead quickly. You're on the air with your question. Go ahead.
We're going to have a new Speaker of the House. For some reason, I've forgotten if we've elected one in. McCarthy, maybe. I don't know. But is that going to help? And then, of course, Fox, I thought was bought. You were talking about the networks. Somebody said Disney bought Fox.
No.
And I guess I didn't take the time to research it, but is that true?
No, you'd misheard on that.
Here's what happened. You are, it's partially correct, okay? Fox sold its catalog of movies and stuff. So 20th Century Fox had a huge catalog of movies from its inception, which Fox owned. So they sold a catalog of movies to Disney, and Disney bought that content. They did not buy the news channel. They did not buy any of the news side of it. So Disney does not own any of the. Fox is independent from that standpoint. So but yes, it gets confusing, but Fox had a lot of different entities, and they basically broke off the movie content part of it, and they sold it to Disney because Disney wants to provide content have a lot of content that they can sell for the various outlets that they control.
Right.
So that's that deal.
Did you have another part to the question, Randy?
No, sir. He hung up.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Randy. Thank you for your call. Let me ask you this.
The first part of the question had something to do with the Congress as a whole and about who's to be Speaker.
Yeah.
And the lineup as it appears is going to occur. Kevin McCarthy won the minority leader slot in the House conference, so he's going to be the minority leader. Steve Scalise will be minority whip. Lynn Cheney from Wyoming will be the conference chairman, which essentially does communications for the Republicans.
Right.
On the Democratic side, it looks as though Nancy Pelosi has won over the Democrat socialist wing of their party, which means increased radicalism from the Democrats. And so I think there's a high probability she will be Speaker. And she's still trying to, fix some things, but there's a high probability she'll be Speaker. So you're looking at they will have between a 12 and 15 vote majority. Democrats will have between a 12 and 15 vote majority. And as a result of that 12 or 15 vote majority, they're going to have some districts where they control seats, where those members will be very, very uncomfortable voting with the Democrat majority. And that's where the battleground will lie, is in about 30 House districts that Democrats won that they shouldn't have won, and it's going to be, and those members who took those districts are going to have to defend positions that are out of line with their constituents.
Let me.
That's what we're going to look at in the battlegrounds for the next 2 years.
Absolutely. Richard, let me ask you this. Are we going to see, in your opinion, any possibility of legislating instead of, like the Adam Schiffs and the Scalwells and the rest of them, the litigation? Are we going to see a chance for maybe working for the American public or more dissension against the Trump administration?
The Democrats will in the House will likely pass things like $15 an hour minimum wage and things like that. They will attempt to pass. They'll start making noises towards single payer, but they will probably try to do something around the edges in terms of expand the number of people who are eligible for Medicare, and in doing so, try to expand the people who are dependent upon that system for health care. Because remember, you have to it's mandatory. They kind of make it so you have to sign up for it. So they're likely trying to do some things on health care that fit into that category, probably expanding it to people who are lower income and the like, and knowing full well that will break the Medicare system entirely, and then create an environment where the Medicare system's broken and the health care system's broken, which makes single payer the answer that they will come up with. So I think you see some stuff like that they'll try to do on the House side. I don't see much success in getting those things passed in the Senate. So you might see some infrastructure stuff in terms of funding some building projects and the like that could be put together on a bipartisan way. You might see some changes in trying to create an infrastructure bank. You'll probably see something regarding pensions, multi-employer pension plans for union pension funds. That'll be a battle that'll be fought, but I think you'll see something in that regard. So there's things like that, but you're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see things like a massive overhaul of any part of government, and I certainly don't think you're going to see much of the Trump agenda being pushed in either the House or the Senate, because the Senate didn't push it when they had the majority in both houses, and the House now is controlled by Nancy Pelosi, who doesn't agree with it.
Real quick, Richard, I've only got a minute left. Short answer to this. With all that you just said that the Democrats may try to do and the employment of their anti-this, anti-that, is there any hope for a re-election for Donald Trump in 2020?
Yeah, I think, that's a great question. I think that there is. I think Donald Trump certainly should be favored to win in 2020. It comes down to a simple thing, and it's whether or not there was a realignment in states like Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Iowa, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia. Was there a realignment in those states? Or is that realignment, was a temporary anomaly because Hillary Clinton was a terrible candidate and a terrible person? If that realignment did occur, and if President Trump is making inroads in the black vote, which it seems he is, then it's probably a pretty high probability that he will be reelected. If that realignment is illusory, it doesn't really exist, at that point it becomes very difficult for him to win, because Florida, one of the unwritten things is Florida just allowed 1 million felons to become eligible voters in this last election on a ballot initiative. Effectively, that takes Florida just became a Democrat state because of that. So for all intents and purposes, a state that used to be, 12, who's going to win by 12 votes, Republicans would have to really, really scramble to be able to win Florida, because you have to pick up about 600,000. The other side would pick up about 600,000 votes based on that. So just practically speaking, I'm taking Florida off the map and putting it in the Democrat column, which means you have to win Pennsylvania to offset it.
Absolutely. President of Americans for Limited Government and a dear friend of this program every week on Mondays, Richard Manning. God bless you, man. Take care. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Take care, buddy.
Take care. Thank you. I really enjoy his insight, and he is one of my, if not the, favorite guests that we have weekly on this program. Thank you very much. By the way, Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors. Hello, Holly. How are you at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley? If you're a senior and you want to stay at home, please call them. They can help, and I'll tell you how. With, of course, meal preparation, maybe some daily tasks around the house, or light housekeeping, or maybe run some errands, companionship, whatever it might be, for seniors that want to stay at home. Call Minnecasia Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. The number, 312-5715, or you can go on the website, holly@heartsforseniors.net. Also want to remind everybody about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward. And I believe we're going to have Rex on the program Wednesday from Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one. Always, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please call the number, and they can and they will help you. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. That number, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. You know, there are a lot of great big things going on this time of the year, especially with Christmas season. And, of course, that leads us over to our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. I'll tell you what, get ready to beautify and comfortize for the Christmas holidays. Oh, my goodness, all the floor coverings, all the carpet, the vinyl, the luxury vinyl planks, everything. And how about taking care of a little comfy for you with all the mattresses that are on sale? Better night's sleep. And you check it out today. Queen mattresses are only $99 starting at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Jeff and the whole crew extend to you and your family a very Merry Christmas season. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. I have been really interested in having this gentleman come on my program ever since I saw and read the kind of an info sheet on him. He is the CEO of Grow Guru, and his name is Patrick Henry. Give me Grow Guru, or give me death, I guess. Good morning, Patrick Henry. How are you?
Doing well. Good morning.
Give us a little thumbnail sketch of who you are, what you do, and what is Grow Guru.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a technology executive, run a few different tech companies. The last one that I ran, we took public in 2007. I ran as a public company for 7 years. So I recently, within the last year and a half, invested in Grow Guru, and then became the CEO about 6 months ago. And we do precision agriculture, so precision irrigation, monitoring, and management for farmers, and help them grow more crops, improve their crop yield and crop quality, as well as save money.
Let me ask you this, Patrick. I hope you don't mind if I call you by your first name. But I live in one of the wealthiest, greatest, most productive agricultural areas of anywhere in the United States. I think second only to the San Joaquin Valley in California. Now, what would you tell the farmers here as far as what you're trying to do and what you envision for the future?
Sure. So, the whole area of precision agriculture, I think, is going to be the next major wave of technology adoption in farming. We've had kind of two big rounds of things happen with seeds and with fertilizers and pesticides. Now we're starting to get more of the information technology through what we call Internet of Things and cloud computing. So what we're doing is really revolutionizing the way that farmers grow their crops in terms of giving them access to better information about what's going on in the soil, what's going on in the ground that they can't actually see. So with like satellite imagery or aerial photography, you can sometimes tell where you have trouble spots and where things are going well, but you can't really diagnose the problem and prescribe what to do. So we provide that information. So we're kind of like X-ray vision into the ground, and instead of just being able to say, hey, your leg hurts, we can say, hey, your leg is broken, and it's broken in this place, or maybe you have a cancer, or maybe you have something else, and then what you need to do to resolve those issues. So we give recommendations about when to irrigate, how much to irrigate, has the fertilizer washed out of your soil, that type of information, which ultimately leads to better crop yields and saving water, saving energy, and saving fertilizer.
Let me ask you this, Patrick, and of course I'm a real advocate of agriculture because I've been involved in it for all my life. But a country that cannot feed itself and not grow its own crops is always going to be subsistent to some other country to come in and take it over and control it. That's why I think the American agricultural programs are the best in the world, with the most advanced learning of farmers and their production. How do you see agriculture progressing in this country over the next 5, 10, and 25 years?
Yeah, it's really fascinating because I do think it's just a strategic asset as much as anything else. And you look at the big picture, where you have 800 million chronically undernourished people in the world today. 70% of the world's fresh water supply used for agriculture, and just to keep pace with population growth by 2030, we need to increase food sources by 70%. So there's going to be a problem. There's going to be problems with water. There's going to be problems with food. And the United States does a great job with this. I think that what farmers, especially the larger commercial farmers, have kind of gotten into, though, is growing a lot more cash crops like corn, and even 30% of the corn that we grow in this country is for ethanol. So there's a variety of different things that have happened which are not what I would call sustainable ways of growing crops. So I think you're going to end up with more kind of microeconomies where they'll grow more what's used in those areas over time, as opposed to this kind of big commercial farming, commodity crop price type of model that's kind of evolved over the last couple decades.
Let me ask you this. Do you see changes, and I'm not trying to scare anybody in the audience this morning, but I want to have you on to see what you're looking at in the crystal ball for agriculture in the future. But let's say that a farmer's farming 2,500, 3,000, maybe 3,500 acres or more, spuds and wheat and barley and corn, etc. What kind of changes, innovative changes, may they have to look at to be more productive and fiscally responsible?
Yeah, I think that there's lots to do in a variety of areas. I mean, what we're doing in terms of precision irrigation monitoring and management is a big area, and that falls in that whole precision ag, which includes satellite imagery and automation and control. Not only giving the recommendations of when and how much to irrigate, but actually automating some of that. But you're also seeing a lot of innovation in terms of seeds, a lot of innovation in terms of fertilizers, innovations in terms of indoor growing. So and also innovations in terms of application of, as you would call it, genomics into pest control. So there's just a lot of really cool, innovative stuff going on in the agriculture space these days, and the agriculture space in general has been kind of a laggard in terms of adopting new technologies compared to other industries, but I think it's really going to pick up over the next 5 to 10 years because there is so much value, and there's kind of a turnover within the farming community where some of the younger up-and-coming farmers are more receptive to the adoption of new technologies.
Right. Let me ask you this, and I make no secret what side of the fence I'm on, but the environmentalists and the global warming or climate change alarmists are absolutely out to stop agriculture and animal agriculture, etc. We've got to have them take a back seat in the back of the bus if we're going to be the world leader in feeding the world, and we cannot continue, in my opinion, to grow crops for fuel in this society today when we have all these hungry people. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that food for nourishment as opposed to food for fuel that's gonna continue to be something I think that we have to do, just by the nature of how much food supply we're going to need to produce. The whole area, more animal agriculture around methane gases and things like that, I think that's not my area, but I think there will definitely be innovations there, too, to recapture some of that and maybe turn that into fuel. So there's, a variety of different things that can be done, and if you have the right economic incentives, innovation occurs. So I think those are some key things that we'll see how things will evolve over the next 15 to 20 years. But yeah, food is going to be a very, very important strategic resource for us.
Patrick, do you see, and I don't want to say a particular crop or a particular like a potato, corn, whatever it might be, but do you see that maybe the phasing down or out of certain crops and the enhancement of others because they are easier grown? What do you see in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, we're already seeing kind of in the Central Valley of California that there's been a big switch from field crops, 20 and 30 years ago to more specialty crops. So most of the customers we have in the San Joaquin Valley are fruit and nut tree farmers. Grow a lot of almonds, pistachios, stone fruit, different types of citrus, table grapes. So I think you're going to, even within the Midwest and kind of, let's say, the Mississippi Delta, you're going to see, different types of crops being grown based on access to resources that aren't available other places, where maybe over the last 20 or 30 years they moved to soy and corn because those are kind of cash commodity crops. You're now seeing peanut farmers, berry farmers, a lot of people growing those types of crops in those areas.
I see, and I've always been a proponent. I've done a lot of work with the FFA and other youth organizations, but the way you're talking about the changes and the high-tech production, etc., boy, I'm not seeing a lessening. I'm seeing more of an opportunity than ever before for younger people to get involved in agriculture. Am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's going to be one of the more exciting areas where there is adoptions of new technologies and just very innovative, creative things to do, both in the technology and the sciences. There's just so much going on kind of in the whole area of crop science as it relates to the health of the crop, the value of the crop, all those kinds of things, in addition to the work that we do on the technology side.
We only have so much land, and it brings a tear to my eye sometimes when I drive by maybe 120 acres that just last year was farmed, and now we're starting to see housing developments. Boy, when are they going to get smart and realize that we don't have any more land to just all of a sudden take into production?
Yeah, it's gonna take some of our smartest and most creative people to figure out solutions to a lot of these problems in terms of how we do grow crops from an indoor standpoint. How do we take better care of the soil that we have and make it more sustainable? So these are all big economic challenges, but I can tell you we're going to have those types of innovations to be able to keep pace with where the world's going.
Are other countries, Patrick, and help me on this a little bit, are other countries that we would consider maybe some are friends, some are foes, are they going into a more high-tech production of food, or are we the world's leader yet in this area?
I think there's other countries that are very innovative as well. Australia, parts of South Africa, parts of South America, Chile, Argentina, they do a lot of precision agriculture. Also parts of Europe. In India and China, they're a little bit lagging behind. They still use a lot of flood irrigation. You do need to move kind of from flood to precision irrigation and then to precision irrigation management to get the best benefit out of it. But those are also two countries that have huge populations that are going to have even huger populations over the next 30 years. So they're going to have to innovate in those areas as well. So I think I see it all as a big opportunity, even though there's a lot of challenges. I think there's huge opportunities for growth in this information technology approach to growing crops.
In politics, States, it always seems like there's a snicker or a laugh or a wry look when somebody says, oh, we've got to do more for the Secretary of Agriculture, or we've got to do more to expand agriculture. And I think in the future, starting as of today, there's got to be more respect for agriculture, more so than ever before. What are your thoughts?
You know, the American farmer is one of the most hardworking people in our country, and a lot of these, you know, it's primarily a family business, even though there are big commercial farms. The average size of a farm in the United States is under 1,000 acres, and there's only 30% of them that are over 2,000 acres. So these are hardworking people that are trying to do a good job, and you know, they deserve our admiration and respect for sure.
Absolutely. Now, if people want more information about you and your business, please tell us how they can get in touch with you or learn more.
Yeah, so our website is just growguru.com, Groguru. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter at MyGrowGuru, and on Instagram at just GrowGuru.
I appreciate you being on the air this morning, Patrick Henry, and thank you very, very much, and I hope I can keep your name and number on file and have you back in the future. Very interesting, and thank you for your knowledge.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate having me on.
All right, sir. Thank you. Gentleman by the name of Patrick Henry, and he is the CEO of Grow Guru, a very insightful look as to agriculture in the future here in this United States. Right now, it's time for the weather forecast, and our weather is brought to you by some really good friends of ours and yours that have been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years, and I'm talking about Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You know, it's getting closer and closer to the year end, and you better make sure all your tax records are ready, yeah, and call them if you have questions. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert for the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, all of this and so much more. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be a nice one today, but for the rest of the week, expect something different. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch for the final week of November. Today, not too shabby. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 42. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 25. Tomorrow is when the winds of change start happening. We are expecting 30% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Up that to 60% by tomorrow night with a low of 34. Possible snow showers in the higher elevations. By Wednesday, 50% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Rain and snow for Wednesday night with low of 30. Continue that on for Thursday. High of 43 with an overnight low of 31. And for Friday, 40% chance of snow showers in the forecast and a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you much. And brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. And they've got offices in Burley and Rupert. They are the best at what they do in helping you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane and Company. I'd really appreciate some calls right now. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Excuse me, that old cough. It just doesn't want to leave me. Likes residence right there in my lungs. This Thursday is Lunch Bunch. Don't forget at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. We are going to have a November Lunch Bunch. It's going to be this Thursday at Denny's. Don't forget that. And it starts at 11:30. And we want to thank for all the door prizes, Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. And all of that's going to be on this Thursday. And then put this on the calendar, please. On December 13th, the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas party returns. Thursday, December 13th at Denny's Restaurant. We're going to have Christmas carols and live music with Ashley Ludlow and prizes and Santa Claus. All of that from 8 to 11. We'll do a remote broadcast over there. And also Loot in the Boot to help some of the needy families at Christmas time. Old-fashioned Denny's Christmas, Thursday, December 13th. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. I want to say something. Randy kind of piqued my remembering on this, what I was going to say earlier this morning. When he called earlier and was talking to Richard Manning, some of the questions and some of the calls that we get, I say most of them, are really, really well educated and knowledgeable. And I want to just say thank you. Over the Thanksgiving holiday weekend, we were talking about my callers and my audience on this program, and you ask some of the best questions and make some of the best doggone remarks of any talk show anywhere. Thank you. Very, very knowledgeable, and I appreciate that. Calls are welcome and appreciated right now. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. Holy moly, have they got all the snowmobiles. Holy moly, have they got a great big showroom floor. And they've got all the snowplows, too. That was one of the best doggone things I ever bought from Nick from my four-wheeler was a snowplow. Woo! Did we plow snow last winter? Well, I'll tell you what, they've got them all over there at Let's Ride. And besides that, they've got all the accessories and a great service department to keep you running. Yeah, buddy. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Let's Ride where the fun is sold. Absolutely. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As parents, I want to get your opinion on something. Call me and let me know what you think about this. In Maryland, the state of Maryland, we'll talk about that in a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
The reason that we are knowledgeable is because you present us with the facts and the truth.
Well, that's very nice to say. I appreciate that. Thank you, Doug. I really mean that. Thank you very much. That's the one thing. I wished you could be here early in the morning in this office at 4:30. 4:30. And my lovely bride, she is absolutely glued to the computer and typing things to various people. I'm on the telephone calling back to New York and Washington, D.C., and I love this. I love this job of finding out the truth about various stories because I think too many times on the networks, people are being jaded into a very liberal attitude on the stories.
They are, and they're not presenting the whole story. I wished we had someone that would do the evening news like Walter Cronkite did when we were growing up.
Yeah, or Huntley and Brinkley.
Yeah, they presented the facts, presented the news, nobody's opinion, just the news, and the American public made up their mind.
You know, and right there, people are not discerning today and really paying attention. If they want the news should be an unbiased, no opinion fact. It should be a fact. If you want to listen to an opinion program, you can turn on opinion programs like so-and-so thinks this about this particular story. But I absolutely will not put a story on my program. None. Unless they are verified at least twice with two different sources. I want to make sure that you know the real true stories.
And you do that, and we really appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for that, and like I was just going to say, I'll throw this story at you real quick. In Maryland, they have now basically passed it so that high school students in Maryland can cut class up to 3 different times, 3 different days, to go out and politically protest. What are your thoughts?
More indoctrination of the youth.
This is ridiculous. We're putting them in school for educations. We're putting them in school maybe to learn the value of this great country with civics and everything else and study about our Constitution and the value of being a capitalist country. And now we're giving them permission to go out and possibly throw bicycle racks through windows?
It's sad. It's really sad. The worst thing the conservatives has done, the Republicans have done, was let the liberals take over our college, our education.
Oh, Lord, yes. Lord, yes.
Now it is time. It hasn't gone too far. We can take it back. But we need to take back our education system.
But you have to do it with a very stern, very strict way.
When you let the government control what your kids learn, the government's going to teach them what the government wants them to know.
Absolutely.
That's how Hitler got away with it. He taught the kids what he wanted them to know.
Well, it's kind of like this next half hour, we're going to have Dr. Tim Ball back on our program talking about the idiocy of global warming and climate change and why there's such a big push to get us under their thumb right now. And there again, it's almost a Hitleristic attitude of we've got to control the people.
Well, if you want to conduct an experiment, anybody can do this in their home on global warming and how far the seas will rise when the ice melts. Fill a glass up with ice, then fill it with water right to the top.
Yep.
Set it on the counter and let that ice melt and see how much water runs over top of that glass.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the thing is, Doug, misinformation or no information that is verified is really killing this country.
It is fake news, and it is the enemy of the people in this nation.
Absolutely. Thank you for your kind remarks. I appreciate that. I've got to run to a commercial break. Thank you.
Okay, one quick redneck deal. You might be a redneck if you own 3.5 cars.
I know that. Thank you. Oh, appreciate that. Hey, don't forget, when you think about life insurance, I'm going to cough. Hold on. I'm done. When you think about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits, don't forget to think about and call Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Very dedicated and responsive to your needs. These are very accessible people that are devoted to help serve you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Here's the number to call. Make an appointment. 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Got a great hour coming up next hour. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch will be back. Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. We'll be back in 7. Oh, good morning. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. Glad to have you with us. And our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of tires for you and your safe driving. And then also don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Absolutely great people. By the way, don't forget I got to do this right, Merry Christmas wishes from the doctors and staff at Burley Veterinary Hospital at 2869 Overland in Burley. Don't forget, they work with all your pets and livestock to maintain their health. Don't forget, Burley Veterinary Hospital, wonderful people at 2869 Overland in Burley, wishing you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas. I look forward to having this man and others of his ilk on my program because, man, we have got to fight the global warming / climate change people that are out to put us back in caves burning buffalo dung. And I have with me again this morning the author of Human Caused Global Warming, the Biggest Deception in History, Dr. Tim Ball. Sir, good morning and welcome back to the program.
Oh, good morning, and thanks for the opportunity.
Dr. Ball, it's growing like a tidal wave. I have here in front of me various stories about how future global warming could wipe out 1/10 of the U.S. economy, or many others that are saying, well, we're all going to die within 10 years with global warming and climate change. Why the big half-court press again by the liberal left and these loons that want us to believe in climate change?
Well, the answer to your question is simply that the public are simply not buying into it anymore, and they're aware of that. And when and they're aware because the evidence is contradicting what they're claiming. all the forecasts they've been making, as you said, we've got 10 years left, 20 years left, and so on. And the forecast of more severe weather is not true. And so the public are sitting on the sidelines. The polls, for example, a United Nations poll of 10 million people in 8 different countries, and they listed 16 socioeconomic concerns, and climate change was 16th on the list. And the Pew Center, which is a left-of-center polling agency in the U.S., they identify 34 socioeconomic concerns for Americans. And for the last 6 years, both environment and climate change have been 32nd and 33rd on the list. So what's happening is the public know that there's no truth to this, but they don't know enough about it to speak out about it. And so the way I argue is what they're doing is what Mark Twain advised. You know, if you sit with your mouth shut, there are people that will assume you're stupid. Don't open your mouth and prove it. And so the public are just sitting there and saying, look, we know something's wrong. We don't know what it is, but we're going to wait and see what's going to happen. And that's what's going on right now. So the push in order to keep the alarmism going, it started with the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They came out with a recent report, as you said. We've got 12 years left. That was picked up by the bureaucrats in governments around the world. And then NOAA, who is presented this report to the American public through the White House, saying it's a disaster. And what they don't tell you is NOAA, they get their forecasts wrong all the time. They got the recent forecast for Florence and Michael wrong, and every forecast that they make, they can't go beyond 4 days with an accurate forecast, but they're telling you what's going to happen in 50 and 60 years. And what they don't tell you is they're the ones that wrote this report, but they are also members of the IPCC, and they're quoting the UN IPCC as their authority. So they're quoting their own work as their authority. This is the most incestuous thing. This is the deep state at its absolutely defensive, unaccountable worst.
Dr. Ball, I want to talk to you, if I may, for a few minutes about the terrible, terrible, ravaging fires in California. Now, I'm going to state my position. You can tell me if I'm wrong or right. But I know the fires were devastating. I know that they've had drought conditions in California, but I also know, by talking to many, many of my friends that live in California, that the fuel situation had not been eliminated. There had not been a thinning out, if you will, of a lot of the fuel sources to create bigger and worse fires. And a lot of that fire situation in California could have been under control if they wouldn't have listened to the environmentalists and gone in and weakened and thinned the problem with the extra fuel in the forests.
That's absolutely true. Fire is a natural agent of nature to clean out the dead and the old and allow the rebirth of the new. There are species of plants that require a fire in order to regenerate. And after you have a forest fire, you get things like jack pine. They've got different names around the country, but jack pine require a heat for their seeds to open up. But the normal fire in nature, and by the way, notice that nobody's mentioning that there's no more or very few grass fires across the Great Plains anymore, and they used to be huge. I mean, I got a record from the Hudson Bay Company from 1790, and they simply state the Indians report the whole of the prairies are on fire. And so nobody's talking about that anymore. But when nature has a fire in a forest, it's what they call a crown fire. It goes through, burns off the dead material, and prevents it from building up at the base. But if you stop those fires, as the government have been doing, then the debris builds up at the base, and you get what they call a base fire. Once a base fire starts, it takes an awful lot to put it out. You talk to the firefighters, they'll tell you it's the heat and the intensity of it. And it can appear you put it out, you go away, and then 4 days later it suddenly bursts up again because it's been burning underground. And that's what the government have done by preventing the natural events of forest fire. And in California, they've got a Mediterranean climate, and here's the standard pattern, normal, natural pattern for California. Hot, dry summers, the vegetation gets burnt back, and in this fall it burns off naturally. The chaparral fires and the forest fires, you get the natural fires burning it off. Then you get the rain, and because the vegetation is gone, you get mudslides, and then it settles back into the normal pattern after Christmas. That's the normal pattern in California, and the government have interfered with it, and Trump is absolutely right on this, and your friends are absolutely right. Now, I'll add one factor. There are less fires since Europeans arrived in North America. We know that from sediments off the coast of California. You drill down into the ocean, you get layers of sediment from the soil washing off, and then you get layers of carbon when there's been a forest fire. There are fewer fires now than there were back in the 14th century because, yes, there's more people and they trigger some fires, but they put them out. And so this is the pattern. We've got to start getting back to what is normal, what is natural, and recognize that if you're going to live in these areas, you have to live within what is normal and natural and accommodate to that. Otherwise, you're going to end up with these disasters time after time. So we've got a combination of, on a global scale, they're losing the global warming argument. They're doubling down on it rather than admitting they got it wrong. And then there are politicians that are exploiting this for their own political agendas in their own regions, and Jerry Brown is guilty of that.
Now, with that being mentioned about Jerry Brown, an avowed environmentalist, radical environmentalist, I read a story over the weekend about Nebraska GOP Senator Ben Sasse that slammed the climate alarmists during an interview on Sunday and suggested that they, the environmentalists, don't offer constructive solutions for the future. So, my question to you is, what really, and I've asked you this before and I'd like you to reiterate it again, what really do these kooks and crackpots and the Al Gore types, what do they really want? What is the perfect scenario for them to impose on us? Tell me, I'd like to know what it is.
Well, the answer is that this started with the Club of Rome, which was a group started by Rockefeller in Rome in 1968. And they decided, this group of powerful people, and as you know, so many of them from the left, like George Soros, Morris Strong, they decided that the planet was overpopulated and that the only solution was, and that the overpopulation was using resources at an unsustainable rate. And there's where that term came in. They decided that the way to stop the overpopulation was to claim that the industrialized nations especially were using the resources at a greater rate than the developing nations, and so they chose global warming as a vehicle, as a global vehicle threatening the whole world. They needed something that transcended nationalism, and so Morris Strong, who was a member of the Club of Rome, took this idea. And he was quoted in a book by Elaine Dewar called Cloak of Green. She said, well, you want to shut down the industrialized nations, why didn't you run for politics? And he said, I can't do anything as a politician. I'm going to go to the UN because I can raise all the money I want from whoever I want and appoint anyone I want and control the agenda. That's exactly what he did. He set up the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change with this overarching argument that CO2 from humans is causing global warming. After 5 days at the UN with him, Elaine Dewar, the author of the book, wrote, Strong was using the UN as a platform to sell a global environment crisis and the global governance agenda. Because what they argued was that this was a global issue that no one nation could cope with, and therefore it had to be a world agency set up through the UN, and that it would be funded by a carbon tax collected by the International Monetary Fund. And the Kyoto Protocol was all about that. But then somebody leaked the emails of showing how they corrupted the science, and the Kyoto Protocol crashed in 2009. They replaced it next year with the Green Climate Fund. The Green Climate Fund is a requirement that all the industrialized nations put $100 billion into a bank account in South Korea, out of which these other nations can draw money because of the damage that these industrialized nations have done to them. It's a great wealth transfer, and it's a punishment for the sins of capitalism. And that's what's driving it. One of the things that you've got to admire is that they pulled this off, that they fooled the whole world, and they did it very, very effectively, and we're suffering the consequences of that right now.
Dr. Ball, when you have had discussions and or face-to-face confrontations with some of these people, I mean, have you asked them, okay, wait a minute, I want to be sure I understand your opinion and your attitude on this subject. What are you telling us, environmentalists, Tom Steyer, etc., what are you telling us is the optimum? What do you hope to achieve? What's the optimum temperature? What's the optimum that you're trying to achieve to enforce on all the people? Have they ever given you any kind of a simplistic answer on that?
No, they don't give you an answer because they themselves don't fully understand what's going on. I mean, Al Gore talked about, Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold. Well, that's his decision of what's an ideal temperature. But what do the Eskimos think? What do the people in the tropics think? What do the people back when there was an ice age going on think was ideal? Because climate changes all the time. But what they eventually fall back on is and the extreme environmentalists do this as well. It's what's called the precautionary principle, and the precautionary principle says that we should act anyway. What if you're wrong? What if the global warming does occur and the world fries? What are you going to do then? And the answer, so they call it the precautionary principle. The difficulty with that is that, and I ran into this when the ozone thing was going on, and I appeared before a Canadian parliamentary committee, and the question came up then, and I said, look, I can stand up as a scientist and raise a whole list of startling or threatening things to the planet based on one or two scientific facts. Which ones are you going to deal with?
Yeah, and
for example, the one that I used with them was that the Earth is slowing down in its speed of rotation. The Earth's magnetic field is weakening. It's been weakening for 1,000 years. If it continues to weaken at the current rate, then 120 years from now, there's going to be no magnetic field to protect the Earth from harmful radiation from the sun. And when that happened in the past, there were mass extinctions of animals on the planet. What is my government planning to do about that? And of course, they just sit there dumbfounded.
Yeah.
And so we've got to recognize, and I'll give you an example of the precautionary principle in the Agenda 21, and this was put out by the Club of Rome, the Agenda 21. They say, in order to protect the environment, the precautionary approach shall be widely applied by states according to their capabilities. Where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage, lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing cost-effective measures to prevent environmental degradation. And that's the game that they play. It's like with a lot of these mainstream media people, they do it all the time. They set up a false premise, and from that false premise, they create all sorts of information which is equally false. So notice that they say, in order to protect the environment, the precautionary approach shall be widely applied by states according to their capabilities. Well, who decides what state has the capability?
That's right.
The answer is they do. And then they say, where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage, who decides that? They do. Lack of full scientific certainty shall not be used as a reason for postponing. Who decides that? They do. So they set up the straw man, and then they decide when the straw man is in operation. And that's exactly what you're seeing going on with all of this. So yeah, all it is about a global government, total government control, and an elimination of capitalism.
Absolutely. Dr. Ball, we have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly. I've only got about 4 minutes left. Fast, please.
Well, over the weekend, a lot of people are watching TV. They're at home in their homes with their families, watching football. and whether or not it was ABC, NBC, or CBS, they were talking about the fires in California, and it said the cost of climate change, and it showed a picture of Trump, and he looked like he was making a terrible face, and they want to blame him for all of it, and it's mismanagement. But you see, when you have a nation of fools, they will believe anything. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller because I think he's spot on. We've become a nation of fools because we're being led by the nose, and I'd like you to expand on that.
Well, that's absolutely true. And one of the things, of course, that they control how people think is through the education system. And our education system has become an indoctrination system rather than an education system. They don't want people that ask questions. So they want a complicit and ignorant population. And by the way, with regard to the caller's comment about fools, Herbert Spencer, who was a philosopher around the time of Darwin, said the ultimate result of shielding men from the effects of folly is to fill the world with fools. And that's exactly what we've done. And so if you keep people ignorant, it's much easier to control them, and you decide what they're going to hear. And just to illustrate that point, by the way, the mainstream media, have always been the mouthpiece for the power elite. And I'll read you very quickly, I know you've only got a couple of minutes left, but very quickly, a poem written in 1782 when the Founding Fathers were trying to deal with this idiocy. It says, "How shall I speak of thee or thy power address, the God of our idolatry, the press? By thee religion, liberty, and laws exert their influence and advance their cause. By thee worse plagues than Pharaoh's land befell, diffuse make earth the vestibule of hell. Thou fountain at which drink the good and wise, thou ever-bubbling spring of endless lies. Like Eden's dead probationary tree, knowledge of good and evil is from thee." That's 1782 talking about the media. And the change that Trump has done is he's bypassed them through the social media, and for the first time in history, the public are becoming aware through the internet and communication just the extent to which they've been lied by these power elites.
Dr. Ball, I've almost out of time, but I want to ask you have you make one other statement. I believe in cyclical weather patterns. I believe that God is in control of our weather. But the government climate report came out and said, and I'm quoting, more than 90% of the current warming is caused by human beings. 90%, please, Dr. Ball. How did they arrive at that figure, and how come we're always to blame?
Well, because this is part of the whole left-wing anti-humanity movement. See, if you think there are too many people on the planet, you got to reduce them, get rid of them. And who decides which ones you're going to get rid of? So this is all part of an anti-humanity situation, and it also, by the way, is the long-term effect of science using Darwin to defeat religion. Because if you get rid of God, then you got to play God. And that's what's happening here. And you see in the universities, in Darwin's day, there were only two faculties, the humanities and the natural sciences. Now the largest faculty in the universities are the social sciences, which is all of these sociologists and psychologists explaining human behavior and controlling human behavior, politics, economics. This is the outcome of Darwin being used to defeat religion, and of course, as the people are finding out, playing God's a very, very difficult job.
Dr. Ball, one final thought. I certainly hope that you are on a massive speaking tour to try to eradicate and eliminate a lot of the left environmental thinking. You are excellent. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch of a day in the life of Dr. Tim Ball.
Well, unfortunately, for the last 40 years, I've been going around the world talking and speaking about this. And of course, you end up where a lot of places will not invite you in. And I've been essentially banned from the school system because I was always willing to go in and talk to the students. And I've been publishing articles. I published for 17 years for farmers trying to explain the weather and climate. Because it affects them directly. I got fired from that job after 17 years because they didn't like my political position on the global warming issue, and so I've been fighting that good fight. Unfortunately, now I'm at the age of 80, and the struggle is getting increasingly difficult. I'm publishing at least 4 articles a week, and I have a website, and I do as many radio programs as I can, and I reach out through the blog sites. So, for example, I just did a 3-hour program in Norway a couple of Saturdays ago. So that's how I'm continuing the fight. But, yeah, I wish I could clone myself and keep the whole message going.
I absolutely respect you, and I certainly hope you'll concede to come back on the program. The author of Human-Caused Global Warming, the biggest deception in history, Dr. Tim Ball. God bless you, and Merry Christmas, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you, and again, thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. There's a man that I've had on my program many, many times. I have the utmost respect for him. He's a straight shooter, and talking about the idiocy, that's what I'm going to call it, the idiocy of climate change / global warming. Absolutely repulsive. We've got to go to a commercial break, and then I'm going to send it over to Wheels real quick. Don't forget, on Thursdays, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days, brought to you by our friends at A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley. Don't forget, they got new clothes arriving daily, newborn to size 16, and they've got all the baby furniture, and of course, they've got all the games, the puzzles, and the toys, and of course, the Cherokee scrubs. All of this and so much more at a family store, A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley, bringing you Cassia County School Days at 10:10 on Thursdays. Thank you very much. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. We'll be back with our next guest in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll-free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half-hour segment. We have with us a gentleman that's been on this program numerous times in the past. He is the CEO of the Cyber Education Foundation and founder of the Justice Society, also the author of The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business. Woo! I'm tired already. And here's the name of the man, Michael Doherty. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Good. Well, they try to throw a lot at you to keep you down, so you always have to have a long book title.
Well, I really respect having you back on the program, and the topic that we're going to talk about this morning really has me concerned and worried, and it's about microchipping human beings. Give us kind of a thumbnail sketch as to what you're going to talk about this morning.
Well, it's like a great opportunity to talk about privacy and how much privacy we don't have. Microchipping people is like obvious. People go, what? And there's a company in Sweden that's starting to make microchips. And there's been some employers in the UK, and there's been some employers in Norway and Finland, Sweden that think, wow, isn't this convenient? Now you just are microchipped, and you can just swing your arm past the reader, and you check in. You have to dig for your card, or you can just swing it past the Coke machine and something can drop out. And isn't that great? Now, thankfully, this freaks most people out because who wants to have their employer basically have someone chip like their golden retriever? But it makes you think, look, we are pretty much already chipped like our golden retriever when we have our smartphone in our pocket or our briefcase or our suit jacket or our backpack or the purse. Because when we click on these, fine print, long agreements for Facebook, Twitter, Google, etc., the price we pay, instead of giving them cash, is we give them information.
Right.
Quite frankly, I'd rather give them cash. And so we always, when it first started, we were like, oh, it's free, it's free. No, it's not free. We give them permission to analyze, monetize, digitize, and package us in groups and algorithms, and they make a big, big pile of money. And then they charge for access to that data. And we give them all that. And it's just been a real big ruse, and it's dangerous. So to carry it to a level of microchipping people, it's like, hopefully, I love it because the media picked the story up right away, but it's a bigger discussion of like, folks, we're not too far from that already.
Let me ask you this, Michael, and I am a Christian. I'm proud of being that. And when it comes to the acceptance of what I would call the mark of the beast, we, I think, in my terminology, are a doomed society. How would you respond to that?
Well, if this keeps on going, because we are being so ironic in the same people that persecute Christians and vilify this are perfectly fine to look the other way on the violence, the physical violence of women and other religions. And it's terrifying. I mean, it really, really is terrifying. What just happened in Michigan with that one doctor, one of the charges dropped against her for mutilation is really, it's an issue. And this is the type of thing they will analyze and vilify you. It's not just to sell you a pair of shoes. These are massive organizations. Facebook has billions of dollars. They are terrified of government regulation, so they snuggle up for the government, and they try to be their friends and buy them off with information. So when Obama beat, who was the second guy? Romney.
Right.
He had Eric Schmidt sitting right with him that night. Google. These are big weapons, and it's not about where you buy shoes. It's about where you go to church, where you live, who you associate with. And it's not like maybe 10 years ago. Now they're developing artificial intelligence. So, they have very fast analysis of databases on you. Not a file so big that a human couldn't go through it.
Let me ask.
So it's dangerous. I mean, we really have to wake up and demand barriers, and we're behind the curve. I mean, politicians are going to sit here and do nothing about this. They know, and they like the power, and they want to pretend they don't know.
Yeah.
They know, and they're not going to do anything about it unless we wake up and make them.
Mike,
it's a tough fight right now.
Michael, let me ask you this question, and I did a little research over the weekend before having you on the program this morning, and I was scared to death over a story that I found about China and China's plan to judge, underline that word judge, all of the 1.3 billion people in their country and reward them or punish them in accordance with their mind and what they do. This is all the more reason to calibrate the negative feelings towards a microchip, because if China wants to start rewarding and punishing their people on their personality, good, bad, or ugly, my goodness, what could be done with a microchip?
Well, they've long done it, but there used to be places to hide. What they're doing, they're just refining their technique, and it is vicious is an understatement. And again, we become addicted to the honeypot of this technology, and we don't pay attention to what is invisible to us and not immediate about the data that's given. And, the companies that want to make money off of China, like Google and everyone else, enable this as well, because they're required now to disclose the type of technology that they use to work in that country, and that's a form of espionage and a form of stealing our technological innovation. And then once they have them within their possession, they use it on their own. And this is a real issue, because I'm old enough to know the dark days of China. I mean, you can even talk about China in the 60s. It's incredible. And when they do things like this, it's so over the top. But watch governments do nothing. See, governments, even people like Obama and the left, they love this information. So they're going to look the other way. They don't like the Internet. They don't like a rowdy, wise populace. They want people docile and just surviving and good, so those people can keep their power. And so it's really, it's It's a weaponization. They want to get this free, wild beast called the Internet under control. And they want it so they can keep people under their thumbs.
Michael, what about our education system? I mean, I would assume, not having the expertise and the knowledge on the subject that you have, but I would assume that that's where the problem starts, whether it's in the kindergarten, the elementary, the junior high, high school, college, whatever, that the education system, if they are indoctrinating our kids into an acceptance of this, my God, what about the future?
Well, I don't, indoctrination, true, but also just keeping them ignorant of the Founding Fathers, American history, who we are as a nation, why we are the way we are. Now we just have a bunch of kids that are born into wealth and comfort who take that for granted, that think it's wonderful and that you should just be nice to everybody. And they don't have the background or the history to understand that's not the case, and so they're just a bunch of hypnotized lemmings. And only then can they do stupid things like persecute people for speaking their mind and disagreeing and throwing around vicious name calling. It really starts with the youth being the future, and we let it go. And because honest people think honestly, and dishonest people are very patient, and they lie in wait, and they plant the seeds, and they'll wait decades. And there has been a real loss of education in the school systems for American history, civics, and even the civics that's taught, when it was taught, wasn't really teaching what has gone on in the administrative agencies in the United States in the 20th century. So you want to keep them docile. You don't have to defeat them. You just have to keep them confused and dependent. And then, when you say things this extreme, some people think you're a conspiracy theorist, although that's changing now. We do understand this is some serious stuff. But it's Saul Alinsky and those rules for radicals that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama so love to talk about. If you want to get the future, get the youth.
Let me ask you this, though, Michael, and you touched on it earlier in our conversation, and I don't mean to kind of beat a dead horse here, but how do we change this? How do we turn the bus around before it goes over a cliff? How do we get these people to understand the mind-altering and control factors that can happen to an entire populace? I mean, what can we do?
Well, you have to understand that you can't just pretend it's not happening and try to keep your nose to the grindstone, not pay attention. You have to start at home. You have to teach your kids civics. You have to engage them. You have to not sacrifice them to a public school system that keeps them ignorant. You have to do that. You have to take responsibility. Listen, this hole has been dug for a century. You can't get out of it in 2 seconds. But you have to start big. And you have to understand it's not 2 seconds. There's a lot of people I hear talk about Trump fatigue. And, that's the buzzword now after the elections. And, that's the dangerous part of having a complicit and compliant and little, submissive type of, we call sheeple in the population that, might be independent Democrats that voted for Trump, but just would like the peace, and it maybe won't do it again. Trump is not the change. Trump is just the beginning of the change, and he could go 8 years and still not going to be enough.
Let me ask you this.
And this is, you have to understand that this is a never-ending battle. And the Founding Fathers knew that.
Yeah.
That the human beings are terrible, regardless of their political persuasion, when they get centralized power. The people that have it want more and more and more, and they're afraid they're going to lose it, and so they keep the population dependent and dumb. And then when things really implode, you have Venezuela.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think to the country is the media.
Yeah.
Because they keep us ignorant, and they don't keep us ignorant by lying to us. They keep us ignorant by killing story.
I see.
The story on their Trump complaining. They don't tell anything else that goes on.
Right.
And it's terrible.
I see in my mind's eye, and please don't laugh at me on this, but while we're talking, I see multitudes of people lined up and marching with their heads down, with a forced microchipping of the human race. You either do this or you will not eat. You will not buy any goods and services. You will not pay for rent. You will not pay for a mortgage. And it's either a do or die situation. How far away from that Orwellian thought really are we?
I think that we're not close to that. I think that, but that doesn't mean that it's far, far away. I think that in the American persona is so appalling to people, and we're not that far gone. But because we have something like called the internet.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought something happened.
Yeah, when you hear a cow on my program, it signifies a phone call.
And that is free still right now. Now,
Yes.
That doesn't mean the periphery won't be bad. I mean, you're going to see people in Russia or China or North Korea or Iran try to pull that first. That wouldn't surprise me in the least. But Americans, they did elect Donald Trump, and they did freak out the establishment because the establishment had never thought in a million years that would happen. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the full muscle of the establishment try to beat down the free thinking and do it through vilification. But listen, I don't see we're at that level yet.
We have a caller with a question, and we'll take that quickly. I'm almost out of time. Caller, please go ahead.
Well, the media is always making us think that without the government, we cannot make it, and we're supposed to be poor, pitiful, weak victims. And in America, independent thought and thinking and independent action still reigns, like you said. We elected Trump, and if we hadn't had 45 Republican gutless wonders retire in the House, we would have held the House. And so you say to yourself, well, are there enough people out there that know enough that can save our country, or do we have to go down into some sort of terrible crisis that we can never get out of before somebody goes, oh, my word, we made a mistake? I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please.
That's a great point, and I think the terrifying part of that is when you look at the Californication of California, it's such a mess, and they still don't get it. So what scares me about the people that are clueless is what it takes to wake them up. I mean, they just double down and double down, and it's tough. But, the Republican Party has abstained and become, we have a lot of rhinos and establishment people that took off because they were selfish. And it's not all just the left, and it's not all just Democrats. It's bureaucrats, which outnumber Democrats and Republicans combined, and it is establishment anybody from either party that just thinks, well, this is how we do things around here, and you don't get it. And then they just try to survive and dance around elections. And so I agree with you, but, it's a bumpy road. It's never a smooth road to success, and the United States is not built on a smooth road. So democracy is messy. This republic is messy. And that just means other people have to step up and create the conversation.
Very knowledgeable man, CEO of the Cyber Education Foundation and founder of Justice Society and author of, here we go, The Devil Inside the Beltway, the shocking expose of the U.S. government's surveillance and overreach into cybersecurity, medicine, and small business, Michael Dougherty. God bless you, man, and please come back soon.
Great Christmas gift at Amazon.
There you go. I appreciate it, Michael. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Boy, I tell you what, folks, all facetious remarks aside, this is so scary and so troubling and so right here now. Microchipping. And there are businesses in this United States that want to start doing it to their employees right now. And over in China, they want to have and create, like Michael said a moment ago, they've already started it, a reward and punishment for the way you think and the way you live in China. They're knowing everything you do, everything you say. Do you want to live like that? I don't. Especially not here in this United States of America. No, absolutely no to any of the concepts about microchipping human beings. Let's have our weather forecast on quickly, and it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Oh, my goodness, all the delicious meats, the marinated pork ribs, they are phenomenal. The tri-tips, and all the buckboard bacons, and, of course, the breakfast sausages and the bratwurst. I love the bratwurst. You're going to love it all from Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, here's the weather.
It's going to be a nice one today, but for the rest of the week, expect something different. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch for the final week of November. Today, not too shabby. We are expecting sunny skies and a high of 42. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a low of 25. Tomorrow is when the winds of change start happening. We are expecting 30% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Up that to 60% by tomorrow night with a low of 34. Possible snow showers in the higher elevations. By Wednesday, 50% chance of rain showers, high of 45. Rain and snow for Wednesday night with low of 30. Continue that on for Thursday. High of 43 with an overnight low of 31. And for Friday, 40% chance of snow showers in the forecast and a high of 39. That's a look at your weather forecast for this Monday for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, and brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. That number to call again, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. I got a couple of notes here I need to get on before the end of the program, and this one is for, let's see, we want to hit that. Annual Christmas dinner on December 1st. At the Minidoka County Senior Center at 6 p.m. and enjoy shrimp and filet mignon. It's $20 each or $35 for a couple. Call and let them know you're coming at 436-9107. And also coming up on, let's see, I got to get this right, Friday, Cassia Regional's Christmas party is going to take place November 30th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the front lobby of Cassia Regional Hospital. It's going to be a lot of fun with a great big giant 8-foot wide, 5-foot tall gingerbread house, Santa Claus, all kinds of goodies and fun, and that's coming up on this Friday, November 30th, so don't forget that. We've got some others that we want to mention. We'll hit those tomorrow on the program, and speaking of tomorrow, I want to mention that we're going to have Frosty Woldridge on the program tomorrow. We're going to have Vic from Stotz Equipment Company on the program. Dr. History is here. And then also, I think Karen Kiteline will be here on the air at 10:30. So we've got a really jam-packed program for tomorrow. And I want to say a big thank you and shout-out to, you heard the forecast, rain, and then maybe a lot of snow, and then mucky, yucky. Well, listen, whatever is on the highways, be ready for it with the best in tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Absolutely. All 7 locations are serving you with all the tires, all the sizes, all the tread designs for your cars, pickups, and SUVs. Please take my advice and stop in there and work with the professionals that want you to drive safely. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, the best. Also with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we're going to wrap it up and put it back in the box for today. And again, I want to reiterate, if you want to get my weekly blog, we've had some more people call on that. Go to zebbell.com, put the address on there. We'll make sure that we start sending it to you. We come out normally on Fridays and Saturday mornings, and it's the blog called Cow Pies and Coffee Cups. And then also, a lot of people out of the area have relatives out of the area that want to tune in, listen, and watch while we're on the air. Go to zebbell.com, okay? And for those right here, K-Bar 1230 a.m. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, we'll ride the horse again for 3 hours, and with all the latest in news and topics that need to be discussed in an honest fashion. We urge you to tune in tomorrow morning at 8:06, where we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.